that my story was going to impact people. And I had, mentors and friends at that time that kept telling me that even through those difficult times. But by the time I graduated from high school, my self-esteem was really low. These are some of the hard things that came out of that. I developed a severe anxiety disorder. And so I was diagnosed with general anxiety that kind of ran my life for a really long time. I had panic attacks on a weekly basis, sometimes on a daily basis. I had a hard time sleeping. I just remember not having thoughts that were clear sometimes, and my mind would be racing, and I had a lot of issues with tachycardia, where your heart rate just goes skyrockets, and it's so scary. And then I also developed anorexia. So I was trying to compensate, I guess, for, I think I thought, plus this was the 90s, if you remember, wafer thin was in at that time. And so I thought if I could look a certain way, then maybe I had motivational speaking business. And so I had gone through all kinds of strange jobs, which a lot of that happens when you're right out of college. You kind of just work where you can pay bills. But I was laid off from a job, and at the time it seemed like a huge crisis, but it was actually a blessing because it allowed me to really kind of start with a clean slate. And that was when I was able to start my motivational speaking business. So it was kind of on the tail end of finding that inner strength and really being determined that I wasn't going to live in that stressed out, broken down place forever. And so things started to skyrocket right away. At that time, I actually was able to move into my own apartment, and that was a huge blessing because I was able to really have my own space and find myself even more there. And that was also a really healthy living community to live in. And so in that time, I was just making calls. That's how I started my business, was literally just I started to make calls into the schools of Tacoma. And so my first initiative was the Power of Words Anti-Bullying campaign. And I started sharing my story in schools, and as you've heard, I really understand the power of words, and I understand the power behind bullying, but I also understand the power behind encouragement. And so I just started sharing that with students in the Tacoma area. And it grew from there. Shortly after that, in 2013, that's when I ran for Miss Wheelchair Washington. And, that was one of the most empowering opportunities to win that title because it really opened up doors for me to share my story. And I had a longing to do that. It was something that burned in me. I need to share my story. I need to be getting out there and growing and expanding. And so then I ran for Miss Wheelchair America and won the national title, which really opened up my whole world. And that year as Miss Wheelchair America was one of the most challenging and rewarding years of my life to date. Because I went from being a local speaker to being a national speaker. I had never traveled avidly before, and I was traveling on my own. I would be hosted by the Miss Wheelchair America affiliates wherever I was going. But I would get there on my own, and I was staying in hotels on my own. And that was one of the most scariest things I've ever done because it was so unknown. And I had healed a lot from anxiety prior to that, but a lot of my anxiety came back, and I started to realize I still need to do a lot of work in the area of peace and strength. But in that year, the world really opened up to me, and opportunities really opened up. And one of my favorite things that I got to do that year was to travel around the country and participate in adaptive sports. And so the Miss Wheelchair America Foundation sponsored me to go adaptive downhill skiing, adaptive surfing, adaptive kayaking, and I got involved with integrated dance groups where able-bodied people dance with extra able people. and that's the word I use instead of disabled, by the way. And it was so empowering. I had never even heard of adaptive sports. I had never ever thought of myself as an athlete, or I had never really imagined that I would downhill ski or that I would surf on the waves. And all those things were incredibly terrifying to do for the first time. But I really realized in that year, like, I'm fearless. Like, I really am courageous, and I am strong, and I am athletic, and it was so empowering, and it really enlarged it expanded my sense of self, and it also expanded my opportunities. And so after that, I moved to Miami, Florida. So I've been living there for 3 years now. And 2 years ago, I founded my nonprofit, Making Dreams Come True. And that really is an extension of my experiences as Miss Wheelchair America, because we provide adaptive sports adventures for people who are extra able. So they get to go downhill skiing and surfing and kayaking and rock climbing and whatever it is they want to do. Making Dreams Come True is partnered with many programs around the country that provide those adaptive adventures. And so we're able to send people to experience that and to find their own empowerment. And through it, we also offer mentorship and guidance for the participants. So they're receiving counseling and mentorship as they're experiencing these adventures. So recently, I actually took my first overseas international trip to Poland. And I was part of an international event there for women in wheelchairs. And it was an incredibly awesome opportunity. I never traveled to Europe before, and so it was again another expanding experience. I was in Warsaw, Poland, and I was pleasantly surprised at how wheelchair accessible that city was. I got to tour the city and go to some of the parks, which were gorgeous. Some of the museums, and I went through some serious jet lag, and I had never experienced that before, and that was kind of scary. I went 3 days without sleeping, pretty much like no sleep, and so I would fall asleep on the bus, or I have never in my life slept on a bench, but I was so tired I laid down and just slept on a bench for like 2 hours. So it was a new adventure and a new opportunity to grow and expand. But I also faced some challenges there, and I'm starting to really see that there's a lot of work that needs to be done globally in the area of advocacy and awareness for people who are extra able. Because I felt like even though I was enjoying myself there, I felt like I was not treated well, or with equality, and I'm not holding that against them, because I think that maybe they don't understand, but I'm recognizing that there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And you know what? We're so lucky to live in America. Like, the more that I see what's happening, I mean, we're not perfect by any means, and there's still a lot of work to be done, but I'm so grateful to live here and to live in a country where we celebrate diversity and we talk about inclusion and we have events like this to create awareness. It's really such a blessing. So that's my story up till now. And I also have a little slideshow for you. So I'm just going to control it from here. I got it. Yeah, thank you. So the rest of this time is really going to be all about you guys. I just want to kind of pass on some words of wisdom from some of the challenges and the successes that I've experienced. So something that I know is, if you want to find that wide open space in your life where you live in a state of inspiration and you live in a state of being proud of your life and happy with just waking up in the morning and feeling purposeful, there's some walls that you have to break down to get there. And some of them are internal and some of them are external. So the internal walls are on the top here, fear and insecurity. So fear and insecurity is a wall that you can struggle with inside. All of us have them. We've all experienced something that creates insecurity. For me, it was being bullied. For you, it may be something else. But I think it's important to acknowledge what are some things that I've experienced that may have created the walls of fear and insecurity. And what fear and insecurity says is either you're not good enough, or if you try to do that, something bad will happen, or someone will be disappointed in you, or that you'll fail. I mean, like, all those voices can start overwhelming us and sometimes limiting us from bigger opportunities in our life. So the external walls are institution and powerlessness. So the way I define institution is it's something that you think that is bigger than you. So I think a lot of us sometimes can get caught in the rat race, and we think of a job being bigger than us, or a certain place that we're in, or even a voice or a group of people, and that can become a wall around you, that this is where I belong, this is my cage, so to speak, or these are the walls that I've been given to live in, and these are the rules behind those walls, and if I break them, then somebody will be upset with me. And that can be a form of oppression, and this is a global issue. That there's a lot of institutions that can create a sense of like, we have the power and we have the voice to tell you what you can do. But the truth is you should not let anything tell you what you should do. What should be guiding you is your inner voice, your inner soul that says, this is what I'm meant to do. And I'm not going to let anything tell me that I can't. And there's powerlessness that can be associated with that. So a feeling like, I can't, or that's too big, or what I really want to do seems like a pipe dream, so I'll just do this other thing that, is like a for sure thing. But the truth is if you break down these walls, it's scary. I'm not going to say it's easy, because it's not, but it's so worth it. And what's on the other side of the walls is really amazing, because there's a wide open space there for you to have a voice and for you to make a difference in the world. So another part of being successful and happy in your life is knowing yourself. So knowing what are your gifts and talents? What are the things that you enjoy doing? What are the things that make you feel alive? What makes you feel alive? What are your dreams? What are the things that you dream of doing? What are the things that you aspire to? And it's really important to develop that part of you. So I always say, be your own student. So examine yourself. Like, what are the things that make you tick? I always keep a journal. So I would recommend that too, to start writing down things that you notice that you're good at. If something clicks, write it down. I think that writing something down is so powerful, because it gets it out of your brain onto the paper, and it's something that you can also refer to constantly. You can go back and read the things that you took notes on. And empower yourself. So I think that a lot of the walls we end up behind are because we don't feel empowered inside ourselves. We feel small, and we feel powerless. But the truth is that all of us can be our own superheroes. And once you become your own superhero, then you can become someone else's hero. And I think that connecting with that strength, we all have it, every human does. That strength that's inside of you to do something bold, to do something brave that helps other people, to do that thing that seems really big, but you can do it if you dig deep and you find that inner strength. And for me, that comes from spirituality. And I know that everybody defines that differently, but for me, when I'm connected to something higher than myself, that's where I find that inner empowerment, the strength to do big things with my life. And small things too, actually. They all matter. Be innovative. So, to go out and do those things that you're aspiring to do, start your own business, become an entrepreneur, climb a mountain, whatever it is that you want to do with your life and with your passions, it takes innovation. And the truth is that the world needs answers right now, badly. We need answers for global warming, for environmental issues, for poverty, for hunger. I mean, everyone is aware that there are some serious global issues. And you guys are the answer to that. And we are in a really privileged place as Americans to have what we need. And I think that it's really important that we don't just stay in that bubble, but that we are aware of what's happening in the world and that we want to be an answer to where there are needs. And with that, I believe that innovation is finding answers and solutions that have not been discovered yet. So I think that all of us can be part of answering problems that we haven't found an answer to yet. And last, but definitely not least, is build a life that you love. Build a life that you're proud of. Build a life that you wake up excited to live every day. And you know what? Even in that life, there are hard days, really hard days. Like, life is never perfect, and life is never perfectly easy. But when you're living a life that you love, that you chose, then even the really hard days are still really good. So that's what I had to share. And now I'm going to split you up into groups. I'm going to throw out some questions so that you can kind of take everything I've shared and verbally process it with each other. So kind of just turn around and meet your neighbors. Maybe like make groups of like 4 to 6 people. So go ahead and do that.
That's on over there. Want to see it?